Things just took another wild turn as we are now just a few days away from opening day. We have the Jays making even more moves, including one surrounding Eloy Jiménez that has some fans fired up. But not only that, we have an update that has dropped, a new report surrounding where the Jays are leaning for their final roster spot move, as they now have to decide between a couple of players. But Davis Schneider's name has emerged as a candidate to not make the opening day roster, which is a surprise but also was inevitable following his rough spring. We're going to break that down and discuss what it means going forward, as well as a ton of other things on this episode, folks. You're going to want to stay tuned to the very end of the video. There's updates, there's reports, and most importantly, there's baseball around the corner. Players are starting to flood into Toronto. Exciting times. Before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, you guys have been an absolute beast with the support. So thank you guys for that. Now, folks, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into it. So the Jays have made multiple moves here, and we have moves to go over. We have decisions to go over surrounding what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. And I believe tomorrow is going to be the official day where we get kind of all the answers. But let's start with this. So more players were assigned to minor league camp. None of them are really surprising until you get to the end there. So Jorge Alcala, Josh Fleming, Jesse Hand, Joe Mantiply, Yariel Rodriguez, and Eloy Jiménez. Now, Eloy Jiménez, who had a fantastic spring overall, especially relative to expectations, has transformed his body, ultimately was left off of the Blue Jays opening day roster, which means now he's going to be down in AAA. And it's reported from Mike Rodriguez, Mike DePortes on Twitter, it appears that Eloy Jiménez didn't make the roster. Now, several teams are interested in having him in the MLB. He is currently in the minor leagues, despite the fact that he looks in rhythm and at the plate, healthy and in great shape. Teams like the Pirates, the Rockies, and the Angels and Mariners, or Marlins, would all use a bat like this. So keep that in mind. There might be some pressure now for the Jays to call him up sooner rather than later. But to start the season, they're not really conforming to that pressure. They are keeping him down in the minor leagues. And I don't love this move necessarily, though it does make sense ultimately. He looked pretty good in spring training, got a little bit cold towards the end of it. But this now leads to, what is their final decision in the outfield? Like, what are they doing with that? What are they doing with Davis Schneider? And we've got some insight into that. But let me know down below. Are you upset that Eloy Jiménez didn't make it? Would you have liked to see him? He's obviously a little bit limited in the outfield, like not a great defender, but at the same time, he's pretty darn good at mashing lefties. But I'll leave that for now. We can go into this, so this is important. So let's dive into the pitchers a little bit, then we're going to dive into the outfielders. Blue Jays still finalizing the roster and have until Wednesday and intend to use the time per recently extended Ross Atkins and John Schneider. And Schneider said that Chase Lee and Spencer Miles are traveling with the team to Toronto, as are Davis Schneider and Leo Jiménez. We are still working through that. And of course, it seems like Chase Lee or Spencer Miles, one of the two, are going to be making it. Chase Lee had a flawless spring. At least these stats are a couple of days ago. So obviously finished with a 0 ERA. And then Spencer Miles had a decent spring, right? A 3.72 ERA. Spencer Miles is a more interesting name. Like he's obviously at this point, I think, approaching his age 25 season, this upcoming one. But they have decisions to make, man. And it's going to be a pretty intriguing one here. They're going to going down to the wire, which means tomorrow is going to be the day, because it's obviously the day that it's going to happen. And it is down to Chase Lee and Spencer Miles for the bullpen spot. But the final bench spot will be either Davis Schneider or Leo Jiménez. All are traveling yesterday night, ultimately, into Toronto. And they'll make their final decisions by Wednesday afternoon. So I'll have a video. I might even have a stream on Wednesday night. So stay tuned for that. But or maybe even a stream tonight, potentially. We shall see. But Davis Schneider versus Leo Jiménez, this one is interesting because in theory, like Davis Schneider, he deserves it. He had a great year last year. But the fact that they are even considering this is notable. Now, they let Eloy Jiménez go. Nathan Lucas, of course, made the team. That's an easy no-brainer, obviously. But Leo Jiménez is out of options, which means in theory, if they get rid of him, he is going to have to, he's probably going to be claimed by another team. Now, you look at some of the, Okamoto there as well, we'll dive into that later, but you look at some of the ways that, ultimately things have gone. Now, Nathan Lucas made the team. We're going to dive into a fun story here in a minute, but let's dive into this. And you can see here, some of the considerations revolving around the bench decision is that the Blue Jays probably have a little more depth in the outfield than you do the infield, which is, and that's what John Schneider said. So that's leaning towards maybe Davis Schneider being let go here, down to the minors. He has options. If Jimenez were to be claimed, Josh Kasevich could be the next man up. The Blue Jays are weighing that against the power offered by Davis Schneider, who's provided an important impact of recent seasons, who can cover second, but not third and short, compared to Leo Jimenez, who can kind of play everywhere. In terms of how I would use either one of them, Schneider would be similar to how he has been used in years past. And of course, I'm talking about Davis Schneider, not John Schneider here. Whereas Leo they would target against left-handed starters. So this is going to come down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen, and there's a real possibility here where Mr. Davis Schneider inevitably gets sent down to the minors. Now, within that same vein, I think they're going to take Davis Schneider. I ultimately do. They are obviously making it down to the wire. The biggest case here is I believe Davis Schneider has an option. And Leo Jiménez, I know Leo Jiménez doesn't have an option. He can be claimed. Correct me down below if I'm wrong. I know his option is a bit of, I don't think they're going to option Davis Schneider down. But at the same time, you can see here, as always, there's an element of roster management in play, as the Blue Jays could open with both Miles and Jimenez, retain Chase Lee and Davis Schneider in the system, so he does have an option, like I mentioned, and see how it all plays out. But all four were traveling to Toronto and leading to John Schneider having a couple of sleepless nights for those guys. Well, GM Ross Atkins is explaining that when we have time, we'd like to use it, since there's always the potential for more information coming into the fold. It is, this is going to be crazy, and it's fun. Again, the note now, I think they're going to take Schneider, but keep in mind, they can technically take Chase Lee, take Spencer Miles and Leo Jiménez, and then keep Chase Lee and Davis Schneider in the system, start Davis Schneider at AAA, see how Leo Jiménez does. Does he mash lefties? And then ultimately go from there. That's a real possibility as well. Now, there is a world where Davis Schneider's gone, and when I say gone, it means not making the opening day roster. Of course, he's still within the organization. I think I'd rather Chase Lee than who's on your screen right now, which is Spencer Miles. But if they want to retain all of them, they technically could, and that's why they're probably making that decision. Now, after reading all, this information, it's kind of clear why they didn't take Eloy Jiménez. They value, defensive versatility. Eloy Jiménez doesn't have that. So let me know down below who you're thinking, because you look at the team, and again, they have more outfield depth than they do infield depth. Leo Jiménez is a better infielder defensively and more versatile defensively than John Schneider, than Davis Schneider is. In left field, you have Jesus Sanchez, Nathan Lucas, Miles Straw, George Springer. And of course, those are the guys who can play the corner outfield spots. And Varsho can, of course, as well, but he's not going to be playing center field. He's not going to be playing anywhere but center field, because that's where his value is. And of course, that's where he's by far the best defensively. You have so many outfielders, right? Like Straw made the team. Of course, Nathan Lucas made the team. It makes sense almost to let Davis Schneider go a little bit, because Leo can play second base anyway if they're going to be using him against lefties, like they said. Now, of course, an article, a tidbit came out from Shadavidi talking about how Nathan Lucas had a stressful end of camp over the last few years, but not this time. And the addition, and this is notable surrounding, going forward here, the addition of Jesus Sanchez may have seemed to complicate his usage, but John Schneider said there's a clear pathway for them to both contribute, really trying to get in Sanchez against right-handed pitchers, so looking for the right spots for him, and then at the same time, looking at the right spots for Nate. The way I've taken it the whole time, Sanchez is the everyday starter against righties. You find spots for Nathan Lucas during rest days, you find spots as a pinch hitter, but you focus in on Jesus Sanchez, who has the highest upside. And I think if you're going that route, taking Leo Jiménez...
The clock is ticking, and in the shadows of opening day, the Toronto Blue Jays are writing a story that feels equal parts calculated and chaotic. Just days before the curtain rises, a decision has landed like thunder. Eloy Jiménez, reborn and relentless this spring, has been left off the opening roster. It is the kind of twist that stirs debate, fuels frustration, and whispers one question into every fan's ear. What are they really planning? Before we unravel it all, if you're enjoying the ride here on the Blue Jays Report, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Jimenez's bat had been singing, his form sharp, his presence undeniable. Yet baseball, like a stubborn novelist, often favors complexity over romance. The Jays have chosen versatility over raw power, defense over spectacle. And so, while rival teams circle like hawks, the organization holds firm, resisting the noise. It's a bold gamble, one that could either age like fine wine or unravel under the harsh lights of April. Stay with us, because this is where the plot thickens. Now, all eyes shift to a final, nerve-wracking duel. Davis Schneider versus Leo Jiménez, a battle not just of talent, but of timing, options, and survival. Schneider, the fan favorite with power in his swing, suddenly finds himself on uncertain ground after a difficult spring. Meanwhile, Jiménez, a defensive chameleon with no options left, stands at the edge of opportunity or exile. It's less a decision and more a chess move, and the board is tightening. Behind closed doors, even John Schneider and Ross Atkins must feel the weight of sleepless nights. every choice echoes beyond the roster, shaping momentum, chemistry, and belief. And as players arrive in Toronto, the city itself seems to hum with anticipation. So, here we are, on the brink of answers, with tension in every heartbeat. Who stays, who goes, and who rises when it matters most? Don't miss what comes next. Like, share, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report, because this story is only just beginning.